Princess Leonor marries Prince Christian, Europe's royal future begins. Crown fire. A wedding Spain dreamed of. A union Denmark never saw coming. Two royal hearts, rewriting Europe's destiny. But what if this marriage wasn't just about love, but legacy? What if today marks the moment Europe's royal future begins anew? The bells of Madrid rang louder than ever before. Across Spain, streets filled with flowers, flags, and the sound of a nation holding its breath. For years, she had been called the future queen. But today, she became something far more powerful, Princess Leonor of Spain, now a bride, standing on the threshold of history. Her groom, the young and charming Prince Christian of Denmark. The heir to another throne, born into a different world, yet bound by the same royal weight. Together, they've done something almost unimaginable, uniting two ancient dynasties through love. As the royal chapel doors opened, the world seemed to stop. The marble floor shimmered beneath Leonor's gown, its silk threads woven with symbols from both nations, the red and yellow of Spain, the white and red of Denmark. It wasn't just a dress. It was diplomacy in lace. Every camera, every heart, every whisper in the room focused on the couple. King Felipe and Queen Letizia looked on, their eyes misted with pride, and something else. A quiet realization that their little girl was now stepping into a world that would test her heart, her loyalty, and her strength. Queen Margrethe's seat, draped with Danish embroidery, stood as a symbol of continuity. She had seen decades of royal change. But never this, a union that carried the promise of a more united Europe, one shaped by love rather than politics. When Leonor reached the altar, her hands trembled slightly. Christian looked at her, not as a crown prince, but as a man in awe. He whispered softly, "You're home now." And in that moment, even the centuries-old walls of the royal palace seemed to breathe. The ceremony unfolded with grace and gravity. Choirs sang in Spanish and Danish. The vows were exchanged in both tongues, a symbolic gesture that drew tears even from the most stoic courtiers. "I promise," Leonor said, "to stand by you, in duty and in love, for our people and for each other." Christian's voice cracked as he answered, "Together, we'll honor where we come from, and build where we're going." Every word was history being written. But behind the grandeur and splendor, whispers rippled through the royal ranks. Would Spain and Denmark's royal houses truly support this union? Would two monarchies so proud, so distinct, truly merge in spirit? In the crowd sat Sophia, Leonor's younger sister, radiant but contemplative. She clapped, smiled, and wiped a tear, but her gaze lingered. For her, this was not just her sister's fairy tale. It was the shifting of the royal world she knew. As the couple exchanged rings, a faint ray of sunlight broke through the clouds, illuminating the stained glass behind them. It painted the altar in a brilliant mosaic of crimson and gold, the colors of a new dawn. And when the archbishop declared them husband and wife, the chapel erupted in applause. Outside, Madrid exploded in celebration. Crowds sang the royal anthem, waves of confetti danced through the air, and children shouted, "Viva la Reina Leonor." But amid the cheers, one couldn't help but wonder, what does this mean for Europe's future? Two heirs to two separate thrones, now joined as one heart. Could this marriage reshape alliances, soften old borders, and redefine the meaning of monarchy in the 21st century? For centuries, royal marriages were strategic. Today, it was something different, an act of courage. Because Leonor and Christian chose love in an era when duty still weighs heavy on royal shoulders. The reception that followed was dazzling. Held in the gardens of the royal palace, it mixed Spanish warmth with Danish elegance. Tables adorned with olive branches and Nordic flowers. A fusion of flamenco guitars and soft Scandinavian strings filled the air. Even the menu told a story, paella served alongside Danish smørrebrød, symbolic unity through taste. King Felipe raised his glass and spoke from the heart. "My daughter has always carried the light of Spain. Today, she shares it with Denmark. And in that light, I see the future of Europe, strong, united, and full of love." Queen Letizia's words followed, tender and real. She was born under the gaze of a nation. But today, she belongs to the world. Leonor, never forget who you are, and always remember why you love. Prince Christian's speech brought laughter and tears alike. I thought I was marrying a princess, he said with a smile, but I realized I was marrying the spirit of Spain itself. Fierce, graceful, and unbreakable. The first dance was mesmerizing. Under a canopy of white roses and golden lights, Leonor and Christian moved slowly, effortlessly, as if the world itself was dancing around them. It wasn't choreographed. It was pure emotion, unfiltered, honest, royal yet deeply human. Cameras caught every glance, every smile, every breath between them. And yet, behind the perfection, Leonor's eyes told a deeper story. The weight of a nation. The shadow of a crown. The question of who she could truly be now, as a wife, a future queen, and a bridge between worlds. Later that evening, as fireworks painted the sky, Leonor slipped away briefly to the balcony overlooking Madrid. Christian followed her, the hum of music still echoing in the distance. "Do you realize what we've done?" she whispered. He nodded. "Yes. We've started something no one can stop." Their union wasn't just romantic, it was revolutionary. For the first time in modern history, two heirs from reigning European monarchies had married each other out of genuine love. And the world saw it not as a fairy tale, but as a blueprint for a new kind of monarchy, one built on humanity, not hierarchy. Diplomats from across Europe quietly acknowledged what this meant. The Spanish and Danish flags now flew side by side at embassies, symbolizing a powerful friendship. The media dubbed them the Renaissance royals. Not just because they were young and beautiful, but because they represented rebirth, an era where royalty connects rather than divides. Behind palace walls, however, challenges awaited. Every decision the couple would make, where to live, which causes to support, how to raise their future children, would be analyzed, politicized, debated. Would they live in Madrid or Copenhagen? Would their first child be heir to Spain, Denmark, or both? The answers, for now, remain veiled in royal discretion. But one thing was clear, Leonor and Christian had reignited something in Europe, hope. A reminder that monarchy, when guided by love and purpose, can still inspire. Weeks after the wedding, images of the ceremony still filled magazines, trending hashtags, and endless online tributes. But beyond the glamour, something deeper resonated. Young people across Spain and Denmark began to see royalty differently, not as distant figures of old tradition, but as relatable leaders stepping boldly into modernity. Leonor's first public speech after the wedding captured that spirit perfectly. Standing at the National Assembly, she said softly, "We are not just heirs to crowns. We are heirs to responsibility. To lead with kindness. To listen. To grow." Christian added, "Love may not change politics overnight. But it changes people. And people change the world." Those words were replayed across every European news channel. Not because they were royal. But because they were true. Months later, when the couple visited a children's hospital in Copenhagen, Leonor knelt beside a little girl who asked, "Are you a queen?" Leonor smiled and replied, "Not yet. But I'm learning how to be a good one." The image went viral, symbolizing everything their marriage stood for: grace, humility, and hope. For Europe, this was more than a wedding. It was a turning point, a merging of legacies, a blending of cultures, and perhaps, the first chapter in a new royal storybook. As night fell over Madrid, the palace glowed like a star. Inside, laughter echoed, love lingered, and history settled quietly into its new shape. Princess Leonor of Spain, Prince Christian of Denmark. Two names that would forever stand together, not just in romance, but in the evolution of Europe's royal destiny. Because when two hearts unite under crowns, it's not just a wedding, it's the beginning of a new world. And so, as Europe looks toward its future, one truth remains unshakable. The story of Leonor and Christian isn't just about thrones or titles. It's about the courage to love beyond borders. The power to bridge centuries of tradition with a single promise. And the beauty of a royal future that begins together.